All right, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we have a signal, a transmission, a broadcast, if you will. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the face of this plane under the firmament on this day which the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, and may we be redeeming the time, for the days are evil. This is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live from the woke and broke, busted up streets of Fullerton, California on the 33rd parallel. Today is Friday, December 20th, 2024. My contact information is joeimbriano777@gmail.com, on the web at thefullertoninformer.com. And of course, PO Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. All right, let's get right into it, folks, because it looks like we've got an audience here. So back in late 2019, when they were working on the narrative on the Ruby Princess cruise ship and the Wuhan Batmobile scam, and, you know, from the bats to the cats, from the zoo to the goo to you, or the goo to the zoo to you, whatever nonsense that, you know, the media outlets and the fake truthers were putting out about how something got its origin in a wet market where they sell bat guts, and it jumped the species barrier and flew over the Berlin Wall, made a couple of trips around a fake globe, and ended up on the asparagus in the grocery aisle, and it got inhaled by your Primatine Mist solution, right? I don't know, folks. I don't know, but I'll tell you this. Here we go again, and it's not a Dolly Parton song this time. Okay, so do you folks remember back when you were in high school, and some of you guys were built for the football team, and you'd practice in the summer, and you'd have scrimmage games before the season began, and you know, the coaches had to get out there, and the equipment room had to be cleaned off, the shower drains unplugged, and you guys had to get your pads fitted and do your exercises and work out in the gym. Well, you know, that was the high school preseason, you know, getting everything ready. And, you know, I wasn't involved in that. I was hanging out down at the beach and going fishing instead of wearing out all my joints and breaking my bones for a couple of cheerleaders that meant nothing. But at any rate, here we go again, folks. COVID-19 Certificate of Vaccination-ID 2019 was an operation to exercise the infrastructure and work on pandemic preparedness and readiness for when they really go live with the operation, which they haven't yet. The Certificate of Vaccination-ID 19 operation was spring training. It was the summer preparation for the fall season, right? It wasn't the real thing. The Certificate of Vaccination ID-19 operation was designed to control you, to control society, to roll out the beginning stages of vaccine passports, digital identification, contact tracing, quarantining, and administration of vaccinations, and administration of and demonization of certain specific allopathic petrochemical pill poison concoctions, as well as flexing the muscles of the local magistrates, the sheriffs, the police, the municipal law enforcement agencies, the state law enforcement agencies, the federal law enforcement agencies, the alphabet agencies, and even the military, involved in every aspect of alleged viral containment, quarantining, maintaining order, and administration of injections, right? This time, oh, I forgot, they were also training the facial recognition systems with the extensive mask mandates and the extended duration of the mask mandates until they had perfected the facial recognition algorithms, right? And that's all been coordinated with your biometric identifier from your national ID card and your federally compliant driver's license. Where are we at so far? Are you still with me? So the last operation was COVID-19, and that was a readiness and preparedness operation for controlling us, the human cattle, if you will. And their solution was an injection. Now, the bird flu operation, and I repeat, this is another operation. This operation is not about us. This operation is about the animals. Now, this is the spring training session. This is the summer warm-up session. This is the get out your gear and get ready for the next operation, which is how they're going to go after the food supply. Now, what's happening right now is they're now slowly rolling out how they're going to control and track and trace and test every aspect of animal husbandry on the face of this plane, right? All over the world, they're gonna pull rank and demand to register all livestock and control it and register and test it regularly, as well as the milk and the cheese and the meat and all these other things, okay? And this is all based on the foundation of the existence of an alleged so-called thing called a virus. And the existence of this alleged so-called thing called a virus is based on what you've been trained on the media, in the movies, in the magazines, and of course in the school district's curriculum, which is written and controlled and delivered and administered by the deniers of Jesus Christ to further the agenda that has nothing to do with public health. It has everything to do with command and control, top-down, lockdown, evisceration of the masses. So this time around, they're going to work on erecting the infrastructure and testing the apparatus to license, regulate, and control all the food. Primarily animal products, which are the most healthy, okay? This is not the real operation. This is similar to the COVID-19 operation, where it's a warm-up for the real game. And we haven't seen the real game as it applies to us yet, because they haven't turned the towers on to the frequencies and the power levels that they have determined will be necessary to induce the illness. That's right. The situation we find ourselves in is one of an ever-increasing situation of being bathed in frequencies everywhere you go. The manipulation of the air and the manipulation of the airwaves is something that is very, very obvious to me, given the frequencies of transmission being chosen and the bandwidth being utilized for wireless communication. They've chosen the oxygen molecule resonant frequency for WIKIJOE and 60 gigahertz oxygen absorption spectrum, the VR headsets and the new radar systems on the cars. And all of these sensors on these cars are running at 60 gigahertz. That's the oxygen molecule absorption frequency. That could take your breath away if they weaponize it. They're using the iodine absorption frequency in the Wi-Fi 6 gigahertz, and of course they're using the dielectric loss of water frequency at 2.4 gigahertz in your Wi-Fi. So they got the air, the iodine, and the water covered. They can make you hemorrhage with enough of this stuff, okay? They can make you bleed out of your ears and nose and eyes if they turn it up high enough with these frequencies that are on these towers and on these Wi-Fi access points. Especially if you're in a Los Angeles Unified School District classroom made out of a steel shipping container, and you happen to have the ethnicity that's got the predisposition to sickle cell anemia and issues with clotting, as they put 2 and 3 industrial strength access points inside the shipping container and lock your children in there as they fence the schools in. But I'm digressing. I want to make a point here. This time they're running the operation and they're going to not be quarantining you, not be vaccinating you. This time they're going to be quarantining the chickens and the cows and the pigs and everything you eat, including the farm-raised salmon and the trout and everything else. And they're going to be vaccinating those things, and they're going to be medicating those things. And they're just going to see what level of cooperation they can get out of society at large. The drone issue is part of this. The drones are controlled by the United States government, and what they're going to do right now, they're just kind of getting, the mystery out there about this. Like, they want everybody talking about them, and literally they want these drones to be a conversation piece around the holidays and something of a novelty, so they can get you guys and gals all to really wonder what they're for, and how this air of mysticism around them is going to become literally a legend, because in the future they're going to use these drones to test the level of supposed viral load in the air. Okay, they're going to have this magical power on these drones that's going to be able to test for the presence of an airborne bird flu virus, right? That's what the drones are all about, folks. Has nothing to do with aliens, has nothing to do with Russia or China. It's not leave the world behind, ladies and gentlemen. It's just rolling out the apparatus that are getting us ready. They don't want us to panic. They don't want us to panic, folks. They just want us to sit back and enjoy the ride and kind of watch it all unfold. Now, the scary part of what's going on is, if they can get you to believe in these things that float around and can allegedly infect you by inhaling it, then they can also get you to accept the justification for culling all of the livestock if they test positive, okay? And so this is a very dangerous Bolshevik genocidal precedent that gives them carte blanche to destroy the food supply and rapidly change us over into consuming lab-grown meat and going vegan. Now, I will tell you that there's nothing better than lab-grown tumor cells with sodium erythorbate, sodium nitrite, disodium guanylate, and all other flavor-enhancing preservatives like monosodium glutamate and autolyzed yeast extract and hydrolyzed proteins and maltodextrin and all these other wonderful things that don't occur in nature but end up in your food, right? The goal here is to control and corral and track and trace, not you with social distancing, not you with the contact tracing, but the animals with contact tracing, the animals with social distancing, and the animals with quarantining. But in this case, they can take it a step further, and they can cull the herd, they can cull the flocks. Never mind that bird flu, if it was even real, I mean, there would be no birds, folks. Where I live, I wake up on the 33rd parallel in Southern California, and on a good morning, in the wintertime, as soon as the sun comes up, I can hear the mockingbirds start their call and their communication, which opens the stomata on the bottom side of the leaves to allow the oxygen to start being released as the photosynthetic process gets underway in all the plants and the leaves in the yard. Then I hear the sparrows, then I hear the finches, then I hear the cowbirds, and then I can look around and I can hear the mourning dove, and then I can, look up in the sky and I can see seagulls sometimes flying around. I've seen geese fly around. There are hawks, there are crows, hummingbirds. So, I have yet to find anything drop dead in my backyard unless the cat got it, right? So, if this thing is such a threat, then it would be in the wild animals first. They'd be dropping out of the sky. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, well, we're going to have a situation where the birds will be dropping out of the sky because we're going to turn up the cell towers and we're going to make them fall out of the sky, because all we have to do is increase the frequency at the power levels and whatever we want with the modulation, and we can make the birds fall right out of the sky and say, voila, we have a bird flu outbreak. And then they'll send the guys in that have been trained in these colleges that are staffed by these things called professors and people that call themselves education doctors. They'll show up in the spacesuits with the swabs and say, yep, oh boy, they're going to take the test results and feed them into a Las Vegas type slot machine that's going to kick out a result of 3 7s, but in their case, it'll be 3 6s. and they'll come back positive, and they'll take the chickens off the farm or the chickens out of the backyard, and they'll just have to take them away, right? And never to be seen again, and they'll destroy them so they can't infect any other chickens, right? And so we're going to have the testing mechanism in place, the quarantine mechanism in place, the segregation mechanism in place, and the licensing mechanism in place for the livestock. Meanwhile, back on the farm, you know, they're just working on the antennas on the towers while everybody's watching Netflix and, you know, drinking themselves to sleep every night. And, you know, they're getting everything ready. They're getting all the bug exoskeleton compounds into the food. So when they turn up the towers, you know, you're going to have these nano blenders. The graphene is going to spin around like a razor blade. The chitin is going to spin around like a razor blade. And you're going to have this hemorrhagic disease. And they got the narrative running for the Marburg and the Ebola operation in the Congo. And, you know, oh, some guy came over on a plane and coughed, and everybody in the plane's got it. And then this guy went through the terminal of LaGuardia, and everybody in the terminal got it. And then they all got in their Ubers and their cabs. And they got on the subway, and everybody on the subway got it. And they told two friends, and so on and so on and so on, right? Meanwhile, back on the ranch, the birds are flying around, you know, pooping, laying eggs, and having babies, and mating, and eating bugs. And, you know, the swallows are making acrobatic maneuvers, eating the bugs in the air in my backyard in the morning. And, you know, the mourning doves are picking around for the fennel seeds that fell off the plants. And nothing's dropping dead in my backyard, but yet the sirens are all running, and the TV screens are full of people in spacesuits, respirators, and dishwashing gloves. So we find ourselves here again, ladies and gentlemen. And we find ourselves on the eve of an operation. In the state of California, the governor just declared, that's right, Governor Newsom just declared a state of emergency the other day, because there was this case of, here we go again, an elderly patient with compromised immune function succumbing to an illness that has been blamed on exposure to backyard chickens, right? And so we got some old person, never mind that they've got pneumonia, never mind they got the flu, never mind they got diabetes, never mind that they're on corticosteroid immunosuppressive drugs, never mind that they're on heart medication, they got AFib and arrhythmia, and they're on cholesterol meds, and they're on anticoagulants, and they're on statin drugs, and they're on beta blockers, and they're on diuretics. Their electrolyte levels are like the levels found when you're riding a roller coaster at Magic Mountain up and down. No, never mind any of that. It's based on the fact that some nitwit that went to college for 12 years got brainwashed by these perverts into believing that that sample that they took in the vial and sent off to the lab, which really ended up just coming out of the bottom of a slot machine, got a positive result for the thing that they wanted to say, and thus the pretext and justification for the operation of, you guessed it, folks, declaring a tornado warning in Mississippi for a blizzard in upstate New York, right? That's kind of the equivalent here, right? I mean, this is unbelievable. We have a situation where something happens to some old person in a hospital in Louisiana, and the entire state of California goes into an emergency over it. Did you hear what I said? That's like declaring a tornado warning in Dallas for a blizzard in Rochester, New York. What the hell is the matter with everybody? Well, I guess there's nothing wrong with anybody. There's something wrong with Joe Imbriano, because I just can't seem to fathom how we can reconcile this insanity to any logical sense of anything. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, here we go again. So, you know, this is going to create some reflexive behavior, and it's going to serve quite a few different purposes, folks. But, you know, the COVID-19 operation was an invaluable tool to transition a free market capitalist economy like the United States into one where just the, you know, I've never seen a form of government that we're morphing into all throughout history. I mean, we're becoming a socialist, fascist, communist dictatorship where we have these massive mega corporations getting a pass on everything while the little guy gets run out of business by this wind-up toy called COVID, right? That destroyed all the small business. Out goes the middle class. So down they go into the pit with all the proletariat, where they can yell and scream all they want and nobody listens to them. And so the big corporations continue to expand and monopolize everything and put the screws to everyone. And now we're going into a situation where we've now got the pretext in place for alleged forced vaccinations at literally the whim of unelected public health bureaucrats. And then we have medical advice, directions from governors that are being interpreted as law, right? That's right. During COVID, the so-called mask mandates were literally simply statements of guidance by governors. By the time they got down to the security guard at Walmart who's on a power trip after they went to a barber shop and got a weird haircut, became a law, even though there was no such law, right? So public health guidance from a governor turned into legislation by a minimum wage goon at the door at a retail establishment. And then people were lining up for vaccines, right? Well, this time people are going to be okay with stopping eating chicken, stopping eating eggs and meat and milk and cheese, because they're going to have non-dairy and vegan alternatives for you. And, you know, there's nothing better than palm oil and guar gum and all of these things to F up your digestion and give you cancer, right? They know this. You know, I remember one time I splurged and bought a frozen pizza. I didn't realize it was plant-based. I looked at the picture. It looked beautiful, you know, Italian this or whatever. I'm like, okay, it was $4 at the grocery outlet. This is probably a year ago. I cooked the thing and, you know, had some. The thing was repeating on me, like I was burping up this weird, like, I couldn't digest the pepperoni on it because it was like plant-based pepperoni. It was unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, and as far as all this CRISPR technology, there's another scam going around right now. You know, they're talking about how they're going to put the CRISPR vaccine into the chickens, okay? This is very important. I want to make sure. I hope you've lasted this long because this is very important. So, you know, they have... They had awarded the Nobel Prize to a couple of gals back in 2015 who came up with this so-called alleged gene editing technology called CRISPR, right? CRISPR, right? And so these two gals, they're supposed to be molecular biologists, biochemist gals. They were given the Nobel Prize for creating and inventing this technology that supposedly does what's called gene editing, right? And so, you know, allegedly this is going to save humanity. You know, we've got the ability to do this, that, and the other. And so, you know, 2015, it was invented and it was patented and they got the Nobel Prize for it. And, you know, 9 years later, they're actually using CRISPR technology in medical applications in an infusion treatment for people who have sickle cell anemia. So, you know, they're wow, right? This miraculous technology is going to change the face of everything, right? And so we've got this human application for this treatment for sickle cell anemia, which is a blood disease whereby the platelets are abnormally shaped, and you know, this something that has to be given through an infusion, right? It can't be, you know, you can't eat it or drink it. It has to go directly into the body through a tube injected into your body, right? So it costs $1.3 million a year per person for the treatment. So let's do a little extrapolation here. Let's just say you can use CRISPR technology to stop the bird flu in chickens by giving this CRISPR drug, plasma, or whatever they want to try to come up with. I mean, okay, so if it's $1.3 million for a human being, what's it going to be? $25,000 per chicken? What the heck's a chicken worth? About $5, $6? You can get a chicken for $6. You can get a cooked chicken at Costco for $5 for crying out loud. So this ain't making sense economically. Now, supposedly this is very important. I need you to listen. By the way, you need to get this video out there to people because there's a lot of people putting out information that ain't true, okay? By the way, I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry and a bachelor's degree in biological science, so I didn't just fall off the turnip truck and I didn't smoke my breakfast today, okay? I had my pomegranate. I had my yogurt. I had my my cold pressed coffee with whole whipped cream and stevia. I had my fennel seeds. I had my fennel leaves. I had my basil leaves. I had my mint leaves, right? I had a little bit of cheese and a Brazil nut, a couple of apricot seeds, and I'm here telling you that is supposedly, if the DNA even exists that they claim, and if they're editing the DNA and it changes the chicken's DNA, well, let me ask you a question, folks. What's the harm if you eat the chicken? Because now we're being told that it's going to get in us and it's going to change our DNA, right? Or here we go again. Is this the Celeste Solum hour where we're going to have Satan's DNA in us now? Deoxyribonucleic acid, as alleged as it exists, this helix of amino acids bound in sequence. Let me tell you something about amino acids and proteins, folks. They don't last very long, and they come apart at the seams, especially. I mean, DNA, it's a fact. It falls apart at a pH of about 5, and your stomach acid's pH is about 1.3 to maybe 2.5. Folks, there ain't a strand of DNA in the world that's going to remain intact by the time it gets into your stomach, okay? Your stomach's going to break down everything. There's no harm in this. This is a psyop, okay? So this supposed DNA changing of people by eating the chickens is BS, all right? Absolute BS. And this technology is BS. They've only managed to come up with one drug that works on this crap, and it's $1.3 million per person per year. How economically viable is this fake technology if the chickens are only worth $5 a piece? Ladies and gentlemen, no lie can stand against the truth, okay? You need to understand that what you're being told is BS. Even these fake truthers out there putting out nonsense because they don't understand the basic mechanics of how things work, okay? You cannot be afraid of the CRISPR being injected into the chickens. That's not what this is all about, folks. This is not about putting CRISPR in the chickens, getting you to eat this chicken so you'll get some crazy thing and get sick from eating the chickens. If they want to poison the chickens, they can put the arsenic in the feed like they're already doing in a lot of cases. They can put anything they want. Every outbreak in human history was caused by well poisoning or poisoning from an environmental contamination or an electromagnetic attack, folks. Okay? What's going on with this bird flu is they're just getting ready to Bolshevik humanity by starving us to death because they're getting everything in order right now. They're getting everything under control. They're getting all their ducks in a row to control and regulate the food supply. So at some point in the future, when they go live with the real operation, not this fake warm-up exercise that we're going through right now, that they'll go in and kill all the animals so they will starve us to death, okay? And that, my friends, that, damas y caballeros, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the agenda, okay? Through psychological warfare, which is all they're really doing to us. They're just messing with us right now. Every story they give us is just spinning our head. And that's just what they do best, ladies and gentlemen. That's what they're into. Do you understand? All right? Yeah, I mean, when you look at a good comment, I can finally say comment here, but yeah, I did videos on polio. They were all taken down. I mean, when you think about the tens of thousands of toxic chemical pesticides that were patented, between the 30s and the 60s, it's unbelievable. People were putting DDT on their wallpaper, for crying out loud. All right, I've gone long on this one. We're 29 minutes. Folks, get the word out on this. And, the price of eggs is going to go through. They don't want you eating eggs. They don't want you eating meat. They don't want you eating animal fat. They don't want you eating animal protein. They're lying to you, telling you how unhealthy it is, when in fact it's a necessity. It's a vital nutrient. Your body needs cholesterol. I'm not going to go into this right now. I've got into all these other things, death by sunglasses, all this stuff. But your brain is, 9 out of 10 brain, 90% of your brain weight's cholesterol, folks, okay? You want to shrink your brain, take your statin drugs, okay? You want to shrink your ladies, if you want to age really fast, go vegan, okay? Especially women, you need more cholesterol than anybody. You got these hormones and these adipose cells that keep you nice and beautiful and everything else, unless you overinflate them with your high fructose corn syrup inhalation, right? I don't want to keep going on a tangent, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to cut this right now. This is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, your host, coming to you in the name of Jesus Christ, in the name of truth, in the name of trying to wake people up and save humanity, the best of my ability that I can with this $40 phone in this 30-year-old car on this beautiful sunny day on the 33rd parallel under God's firmament with the plasma sun giving us the warmth and the plasma moon showing us the map of the earth at night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. The website is thefullertoninformer.com and the contact information, joeimbriano777@gmail.com. And of course, if you want to mail me anything, it's PO Box 4121 Fullerton, California, 92834. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. See you soon. Bye-bye.